The Belgian was showing pretty well in practice and qualifying earlier on. William Noonan and Mick Knowlton ran out the top 4 rows ahead of Lars van Vark and Sabo Boldizar. Storm Breuer and Miles Apps from the UK start on row 6. Then it's Philip Vava, Cairo Kivi, Lagim Ali, Kali Astrand, Jesper Sjöberg, Jacob Hornbacher, Bachner, Sebastian Beloshin, Dorian Heinrich, Juho Parviainen, Regina Grinnerup, Henri Jung, Tamino Bergmeier, Emily de Hoys, Samuel Harrison, Leander Schneider, Julian Werteler, Walter Sriedis, Lawrence Siegfried, Rasmus Friedel, and at the back of the grid, from 32nd position, it's Tom Darcy from the United Kingdom. So now it's time for the grid to get into formation for their first heat of the 2018 Rotax Max Euro Trophy here in Belgium. And if the juniors was anything to go by, just hold on to your hats, because when we go green very soon, it will heat up the track as well. We still have an 8-kilometre wind cutting across the track as the field now makes its way, starting to concertina up, get into a 2x2 rolling start formation, which is customary in these regulations. All powered by a Rotax Max 125cc engine. So the front row has now started to concertina the pack up. So to the left of the screen, your screen, it's Kuppensnick on pole position. Alongside him on his left is Bradley Barrett from the United Kingdom. Then Vroonquist, Horan, Remy Lahaye, Newnham, Knowlton, Van Vark, Boldissart rounding out the top 10. Now, if race direction are not happy with the start, they will call them for another formation lap. So, 10 minutes plus an additional lap to see what happens in Senior Max Rotax Max Euro Trophy 2018 in Belgium. We're just a couple of corners away. Leaders now coming round turn 11, slowing this field to an absolute crawl. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Through the tram lines they come. It's the Senior Motax heat number 1. And we go green for the first time. Kuppensnick gets the run into turn number 1. Bradley Barrett is trying to go round the outside. Pod to pod, slight contact there. But Bradley Barrett goes through and now sweeps in. Looks like Kuppensnick has lost 2 places in the meantime. So Nick had the whole shot, and then Barrett went banzai round the outside into turn number 1. And that's a very tightening corner as they now come through into turn 6 for the first time of asking. Top 3 now starting to initially break away. So we're now coming into turn number 9 for the first time of asking. As it is Bradley Barrett, and Hannes Morin has also got past as well. So Morin and Barrett. So that's 2 Dan Holland racing drivers now leading the field. You can make that 3 in the top 4 with Remy now in 4th position. But Kuppensnick is going to be fighting and wants to fight back against the 2 up in front of him. And he's not letting them out of his crosshairs as the trio go through into turn number 5. Down this very long straight towards turn number 6. And pretty much half of the field were on the back straight towards turn number 6 for the first time. Or pretty much at the same time as Barrett is now trying. He's got about half a kart length between himself and Hannes Morin in the battle for the lead of this race. 8 minutes 22 plus an additional lap to go. As the field is now starting to come together a little bit, so to speak. They're starting to concertina as Bradley Barrett is trying to control this race. But with Hannes Morin on his back bumper as there's a move up the inside going into turn number 1, as looks like Kuppensnick has gone past the up the inside of Morin into the approach into turn 2. Started making the maneuver up the inside into turn 1. So great moves as there's a bit of bumping and barging a little bit further down the order. So I don't know if Harrison and the 284 might have been involved there. But this field is so tightly packed As the top 23 are only separated by 7 seconds, as we have 7 minutes and 30 on the clock. So Barrett is still trying to just control this race. But Kupensnik is on a flyer. He's done the best lap of, I think, anybody at the moment out on track. 56.036 as we now go into another lap here around Genk. As the top 3 separated. We'll make that the top 4 separated by 0.665 as looks like LaHaye got past Remy. Actually, that was the overtake I saw a little bit earlier on as Morin is trying to barge his way past Kupensnik, and it's a switchback by the 274 as it's nearly 3 abreast as LaHaye is now getting in the mix, and he goes round the outside of Morin going into turn number 6. Great move by the number 212. That's now 3rd for Dylan LaHaye from Belgium. And you're now going to see that this action is really going to heat up as Hannes Morin is coming under very distinct attack by the 3 or so carts behind him, which will include Van Vaart, Remy as well, Nolten, Rundquist, Vava as well is in the mix. And the gap has extended between Bradley Barrett and Hannes Morin for first and second to around 4.5 tenths. But Dylan LaHaye is waiting in the wings to try and see when he can make that move past Hannes Morin for second place. The entire field is separated. Well, Parviainen, who I don't think has had the greatest race so far, has ended up right down at the back of the order. Meanwhile, the 2 drivers that were excluded, Darcy now from having started 32nd, now up into 19th. Friedel is now up into 18th. So these guys are doing a fantastic job. It just goes to show that with this equilibrium in terms of the regulations set out by the Technical Commission for the Rotax Max Euro Trophy to ensure that driver skills are prominent in these championships, as Van Vaart gets past Remy for 5th position. Meanwhile, still at the sharp end of the grid, but look at the gaggle behind going through turns 4, now into 5. So we're looking from 6th place onwards, which is Remy, Nolten, Rundquist, Vava, Baldizar, Astrand, Newnham as well is in there. And there's a nice little move up the inside there, trying to keep an eye on who that was. So that was another change for position as the top 5 are now starting to pull a considerable gap. As LaHaye goes up the inside of Morin going into turn 9. That was brazen and brave all at the same time. Nice move by the Belgian. Now into second place. Now he's got a real target in his crosshairs. It's the number 222 of Bradley Barrett still leading. Gap at the moment is 0.6 of a second. As we have 4 minutes and 20 plus an additional lap left to go in this first heat of the Senior Max Championship for the Rotax Max Euro Trophy here in Belgium. So top 10 at the moment, it's Bradley Barrett leading the way from Dylan LaHaye, who is trying to close the gap in second. Then it's Hannes Morin. Kupensnik in 4th place with Van Vaart, Lars Van Vaart in 5th. So I'm just wondering, could the 3 behind maybe be thinking of working together? Well, in racing, you never know. If there are teammates involved, it could very well happen as the leading duo come around the final corner. Bradley Barrett has a look over his right shoulder going across the start-finish line, and the gap has decreased. The gap has decreased between him and LaHaye for the lead of this race. It was just over 0.6 of a second. It's now just over half a second. So LaHaye took nearly a tenth out of Barrett that time around. Barrett did a 55.4 and LaHaye did a 55.323. And it looks like that Morin has now gone down the order, now down from... well, he's actually gone a little bit further down the order. He's now down into 5th position. Was initially at the sharp end and is now behind Kupensnik and Lars Van Vaart. 2 minutes and 47 on the clock, plus an additional lap. And I'm just keeping an eye out of the commentary booth, seeing how close Dylan LaHaye is on Bradley Barrett. And the gap has closed. I think that has closed. That's going to be less than half a second, I think, this time around. 0.0386. The battle is on for the lead. And was there a change of position up there, I think? I think Morin got past Van Vark. Yes, he has. Hannes Morin now back into fourth position, ahead of the number 249 of Lars Van Vark. Meanwhile, those starting at the back end of the grid, well, Friedel has literally set a trailblaze up the order. Rasmus Friedel is now up into 12th position, starting 31st. Tom Darcy from the UK in the 260 has made his way all the way up from 32nd. He's now in 17th. And he's got Jakob Hornbacher up ahead. And the gap between it isn't that far. But now the battle is really heating up as we've got 1 minute 40 plus an additional lap. Dylan LaHaye is closing fast on Bradley Barrett. And I think Bradley knows about this and can sense it. They come through into turn 4. Line astern. Now it's the 90-degree right-hander at turn 5 onto the back straight. This means LaHaye will have the toe advantage going down the straight into turn number 6.